One strategy that people like using kinesiology in action, which is the code that comes with a new version of the textbook. I also believe if you rent a new version, you can get this. It does give you access to VitalSource, which is a way of seeing the textbook online. So if you want to search things, I did pull out this picture in particular, so you could see some different things labeled. Gravity is labeled there. You have your moment arm, center of mass, and you see this woman in 3 different positions. That's the diagram there. So I also scanned this image. So this is the same diagram from the 1992 version. Ultimately, the content is the same. The only thing that changed is really the quality of the image and some of the labels. And you can see there's, look at how much description is here versus the description they gave back in 1992. But this concept of moment arms and gravity and how it is related to the center of mass is the same concept now as it was in 1992 and it was in 1892. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But that shows you the contrast between the 90s and 2019. With that, some people like the online version because they can search and they can do other things. So if you're looking here, and if I wanted to search for this, I want to search for something, I can search for the word mass, and I can see, oh, here's where mass comes up, where does velocity come up, I can search things. You can highlight certain things related to that, and you can pick the color. Oh, I want to put that in pink or whatever there, and you can save your highlights. You can print out certain pages if you like to do that as well. But what's really seems to be the most interesting portion, let me just scroll up a little bit here, is, let me just pause this and get to the right screen, is the kinesiology in action resources. And we did a survey last year, and about 20% of the students found this valuable. So it's not for everyone, but it is for people maybe that haven't taken kinesiology before or that want a little more practice. So if you like to learn by taking practice questions or things like that, this is a good way to do that. Personally, I probably wouldn't, if I was a student, I wouldn't use this very much, but it really is all dependent on your learning preferences and how it works for you. But I just want to give you an example about what's on this in case you're deciding to choose this or not. So you can see the textbook, different chapters are lined up here, and so I can grade my progress through the different ones. So let's say I just start at the very beginning and I want to look at each chapter is a little different in terms of what it offers, but pretty much it's going to be this basic flow with or without some hotspots. So there's a pretest, series of multiple choice questions, sometimes true false, usually around 10 questions or so that you could take. I'll just kind of show you what that looks like really quickly here. And then so some concepts that were covered in the book and that are going to be covered in class as well. And then you would pick that and then go to different questions. So 10 questions here, and you could pick these. I'm not saying these are the right answers. I'm just kind of randomly clicking around here, and then you would submit that, and then it would grade you. There's no grade in the class associated with this. This is purely for your learning if you choose to do that. It doesn't really give you a description of the answer, so if you're looking for that, it doesn't have that. It just basically tells you were you right or wrong. Oh boy, I was wrong on these 2 ones. I just picked randomly, and I guess I'm not a good random picker. So maybe I should work on that. And then if you don't put anything, it tells you the right answer. So if you just want to look at that as well, you could do that. So that's the pretest. There's labeling if you like to do that. I'll click on this and show you what that looks like. You can take this and you can kind of drag that around to see where does it go, where does it fit. So that's the labeling type activity. There's these hotspots, which are going to be graphics, and you have to select what it wants you to identify in that graphic. So in this one, identify the moment arm for the force generated by the quadriceps muscle around the knee joint axis. So you have to click and see where would that be. Is it right there? And then you click that, and then you submit that, and it's going to show you, once you're done submitting all of these, it's going to show you the right or wrong answer for that. You click grade, and then it breaks down the zone of where you should click for that. So we're going down here and so forth. So you can see where you should click for some different things there. Okay, so that's the example for the hotspots. There's text generation, which is really just more open thinking to questions, open-ended questions. And then there's the post-test. I will say this, I do take a few questions from the post-test and put them into the actual exams. Not a lot, but there's definitely a handful of questions on each exam and the final exam that come from these contents. So, you know, these questions on the post-test are a little more challenging than the pre-test. And so that's the basic layout for kinesiology in action. And for each chapter, it goes through these different things. One of the other things I want to mention, the downside to using this kinesiology in action, the textbook resources are, I would say, a little more detailed than what we're going to cover in class. Same with the textbook. We're not going to be able to cover everything within a textbook. Some chapters are 80, 90 pages, and we're not going to be able to cover all of the depth of that material in 1 week, and then what we cover in about 4 hours or so. So if you go with this online access for the Kines in Action, realize that it's going to go in more depth, and some of the questions are going to be way more than what we're covering. We're trying to scratch the surface and go just a little bit into the material, but we're not trying to get deep into the biomechanics of a lot of these concepts. So that's a quick summary of kinesiology in action.